In the dead of night, under a moonless sky, a chilling message emerged from the war front. The Russians have reached the intersection of death. A phrase that now echoes across NATO command rooms, intelligence briefings, and news studios from Washington, D.C. to Warsaw. This isn't just a military update. It's a warning. In the eastern sectors of Ukraine, near the blood-soaked battle zones of Donetsk, Russian armored divisions have stormed into what is now being called the intersection of death, a strategic crossroad where geography meets brutality. This is where countless Ukrainian brigades have fallen, where tanks are reduced to burning shells, and where Russian forces now dig in with chilling determination. But this isn't just about Russia and Ukraine. No, the ripples of this violent push now reach the shores of the United States. USA News insertion seamlessly integrated just this morning in response to the Russian advancement. President Biden authorized a new emergency arms shipment to Ukraine worth $1.2 billion. Advanced MGM-140 ATACMS missile systems, counter-drone jamming platforms, and next-generation thermal targeting kits are already en route. America has moved from cautious observer to a direct supplier of strategic firepower, and that speaks volumes to the bloody price of progress at the intersection of death. At this infamous battleground, now dubbed the intersection of death, the Russian military has paid a staggering human and mechanical price. According to leaked documents from the British Ministry of Defense, over 5,000 Russian soldiers have lost their lives here in the last 17 days alone, a number so grim it sends a shockwave through even the most hardened intelligence analysts. Burned out uniforms, bloodied earth, and the shattered remnants of what were once full combat battalions now litter this critical junction in eastern Ukraine. It's not just the lives lost, it's the message that Russia is willing to bleed relentlessly to seize control of this ground. The air in this region is thick with gunpowder, scorched oil, and the scent of war. Ukrainian forces, though heavily outnumbered and exhausted from wave after wave of assaults, have mounted a remarkably fierce resistance. Using advanced Western-supplied artillery systems, anti-tank guided missiles like the Javelin, and precision drone strikes, Ukrainian units have successfully destroyed more than 60 Russian vehicles, including the elite T-90M tanks, Putin's so-called super tanks. These armored giants, once considered nearly indestructible due to their reactive armor and advanced fire control systems, now lie mangled and twisted across the highway like broken statues of imperial ambition. This isn't just a brutal firefight, it's a symbolic and strategic struggle, because this intersection is not merely a road junction, it is the key artery to Sloviansk, one of Ukraine's most critical eastern strongholds. Strategically positioned, Sloviansk acts as a major logistical hub, a communication center, and a psychological anchor for Ukrainian defenses in the Donetsk region. Losing Sloviansk would send shockwaves not just through the military command, but through the morale of Ukrainian fighters across the country. The fight for Sloviansk is, in many ways, a repeat of the grinding urban battle seen earlier in Bakhmut and Mariupol, but on a scale with much higher strategic stakes. It is no coincidence that Russian generals have thrown so many units into the meat grinder here. They know exactly what this ground is worth. Taking it doesn't just yield a road. It offers a corridor straight into Dnipro, Ukraine's fourth largest city and a vital bridge between eastern and central Ukraine. With Dnipro within reach, Russian forces could execute a pincer movement to the south or strike deep into the Ukrainian heartland, splitting the country and fracturing its defenses beyond recovery. Such a breakthrough would not only be catastrophic for Ukraine, but it would also carry massive geopolitical consequences. The United States and NATO, already watching these developments with rising alarm, understand that the fall of Sloviansk would represent a turning point in the war, one that might trigger a new phase of Western involvement, or force Ukraine to adopt a far more desperate defensive strategy. But here's what makes this even more volatile. The Russian offensive is being carried out with reckless intensity, utilizing what analysts call wave tactics, sending large numbers of poorly trained troops, many of them conscripts or prisoners, directly into fortified kill zones. It's a modern echo of Soviet-era battle doctrine, relying on overwhelming volume rather than tactical finesse. These tactics, while costly in human terms, are slowly pushing the line forward, inch by bloody inch. Meanwhile, Ukrainian defenders are utilizing their deep knowledge of the terrain, their Western-supplied weapons, and their sheer grit to inflict maximum damage. Still, Resources are stretched thin, ammunition is being rationed, and as more Russian artillery and drones fill the skies, even the best trained Ukrainian soldiers find themselves in a fight where exhaustion and attrition are the true enemies. What's more alarming is that satellite imagery shows new Russian reinforcements moving toward this intersection, including BMP-T Terminator armored vehicles, self-propelled artillery, and elite airborne units. Russia isn't retreating, it's reinforcing, and that means the worst may still lie ahead. So when we talk about the intersection of death, we are not using dramatic language. We are describing a modern killing field where two military giants are colliding over a stretch of ground that may determine not only the next stage of this war, but the future of the region. The cost in blood, steel, and global tension cannot be overstated. Every meter taken here has cost lives. Every vehicle destroyed carries with it a mother's grief, a widow's silence, and a nation's fury. This is not just war. This is sacrifice at a strategic altar. And the world watches not just for the outcome of a battle, but for the next domino to fall. Because if Russia succeeds at the intersection of death, the road to Sloviansk opens. And beyond that, a path to reshaping the entire map of Europato's silent mobilization. The West is preparing for the worst. What the world isn't seeing on television screens or reading in daily newspapers is the slow, quiet, and strategic buildup of NATO's military posture in Eastern Europe. While the eyes of the world are fixed on the brutal trench warfare and firestorm of artillery salvos echoing across Ukraine, a different kind of movement is taking place just outside the combat zone. A movement that is calm, calculated, and deeply unsettling in Romania and Poland, two of NATO's most strategically located frontline states. Over 20,000 NATO troops have now been quietly mobilized and stationed within a 200-mile radius of the Ukrainian border. This isn't just a defensive gesture. It's a clear message, a signal that NATO is not merely watching, it is preparing, and it is preparing fast. The mobilization involves multinational battle groups comprising American, British, French, German, and Baltic forces, all equipped with next-generation artillery systems, advanced mobile radar arrays, air defense platforms like the Patriot missile system, and high-mobility rocket systems. These aren't drills done for show. These are combat-ready units capable of rapid response within hours, not days. The equipment being moved includes M1A2 Abrams tanks, Leopard 2's Bradley fighting vehicles, HIMARS, and advanced logistics support systems. And behind these machines are trained men and women who've been drilled in urban warfare, hybrid tactics, and electronic countermeasures, the exact skill sets required in a potential face-off with Russia. Meanwhile, satellite images captured over military air bases in Estonia and Latvia show a growing presence of U.S. aircraft. Just days ago, the unmistakable roar of U.S. B-52 Stratofortress bombers thundered across Estonian airspace, conducting what the Pentagon refers to as deterrence patrols. These aircraft, capable of carrying nuclear payloads and long-range cruise missiles, aren't there to intimidate onlookers. They're there to remind Moscow that the skies over Eastern Europe are not open for Russian domination. These bombers were escorted by F-35 Lightning II fighters whose stealth capabilities and advanced sensor systems offer a clear edge in any potential aerial engagement. Their presence also means one more thing: U.S. nuclear doctrine is alive and active in the region. In the event of further escalation, especially if Russia begins using banned weapons or crosses into NATO territory, the United States wants its adversaries to know that its response would be swift and overwhelming. But beyond the machinery and the muscle, what truly matters here is intent. NATO has always been a defensive alliance. For years, its eastern presence was symbolic: a few thousand troops, small bases, and political gestures. But today, that reality has changed. This isn't a gesture, it's a shift in posture, a transformation from deterrence to forward defense. Romania, for instance, has allowed the Mihail Kogălniceanu Air Base to become a central hub for NATO aerial operations, with hundreds of flights rotating through monthly. New hangars are being built, runways extended, and hardened shelters constructed for high-value aircraft. In Poland, Rzeszów Airport, once a civilian airport, has been repurposed into a logistical super hub for arms, aid, and rapid deployment of allied forces. Supplies are being stockpiled and fuel reserves increased. NATO isn't waiting to respond to war. It's preparing to intercept it before it spreads. What makes this mobilization especially significant is its silence. There's no dramatic press coverage, no flashy announcements. This isn't Operation Desert Storm, and it isn't the invasion of Iraq. This is cold, methodical military preparedness, done quietly, efficiently, and with serious intent. It tells us that Western intelligence understands something the public doesn't, that the war in Ukraine could, at any moment, evolve into something far more dangerous. a multinational conflict that threatens the very fabric of European security. Add to this the recent U.S. intelligence assessments, which suggest that Russia is rotating elite airborne divisions toward Kaliningrad, a heavily militarized exclave wedged between Poland and Lithuania. In response, NATO has activated its Rapid Reaction Force, the NRF's NATO Response Force, for the first time in history since its creation in 2003. This isn't fiction, it's fact, it's preparation. The world's most powerful alliance is moving its chess pieces quietly, but deliberately. This level of coordination across nations, across military branches, and across operational levels only happens in one of two scenarios: war games or pre-war readiness. And make no mistake, these are not games. These troops are not playing war. They're preparing for it. Every convoy, every fuel truck, every satellite, guided artillery shell being moved eastward is part of a broader strategy to ensure that if Russia crosses the line, NATO is not caught off guard. So, while the mainstream headlines talk about missile strikes and territorial gains in Ukraine, the real story is unfolding just beyond the spotlight. NATO is no longer on standby. It's staging, it's reinforcing, it's bracing for the potential that this war could leap across borders. Because when Russia reached the intersection of death in Ukraine, the West didn't just watch. It started to mobilize its own response, not loudly, not hastily, but with the chilling efficiency of an alliance that understands war and is preparing for it in real time. What began as a border skirmish has now transformed into an international tipping point. The intersection of death is more than just a battlefield. It is the symbol of this war's brutality and the West's dilemma. How much further will Russia go? How much longer can Ukraine hold? And how much louder must the sirens wail before the world understands? This is not a distant war. This is the flashpoint of the decade. As the U.S. doubles down on support, NATO lines tighten, and Russia digs in, we are no longer asking if escalation will come. We are asking when. History may well mark this moment as the beginning of a new era of global conflict, all sparked at a crossroad known as the intersection of death, and the world is watching.